a bunch of clouds, usually out to the periphery of the iris, and can be closer to the pupil, but we see this, what we call the fifth zone of the iris. In the physical view of the iris, it's called a lymphatic rosary, or called the lymphatic zone of the iris. It can affect the lymph and immune systems of the body. So it can be white clouds through to yellow, burnt orange clouding in that zone of the iris. It can be a very challenging thing to have. It indicates a remarkably gifted lymphatic system, and consciousness is brought to help an individual understand the meaning of having this ring. If we look into the Rayid energetic model of where this ring has occurred in the family tree, we see it coming from our father's mother's mother. So it's that side of the family tree that needs attention. There may have been some difficulties in that side of the family tree. And in many ways, people with the ring of harmony are trying to heal that side of the family tree. So some of the negative things we may see there are things like being overwhelmed, being apathetic, even being cruel, because these people with these types are highly sensitive to disharmony and highly compassionate types in their personality. So here's another ring of harmony. This one is more of a white little clouding in that outer bit of the iris. So we say there's 6 zones in the iris. So this one, the clouding almost really bunched together, but usually they're little separate clouds. You see white, yellowy, orange, grouping together of clouding in this iris signifies the ring of harmony. So our wonderful compassionate ring of harmony types, they have an excess level of compassion and empathy. So usually we think of this as a wonderful quality to have, that these types can have it in excess. I've had the benefit of looking at a lot of people from environmental organisations, and there's a huge degree of ring of harmony types organisations. They want an environmental of peace or harmony, and even on a deep level, the desire to feel the whole union of the human family. They're incredibly sensitive to disharmony in the world, and there's plenty of that around at our time. So they have this utopian, unattainable ideals, which is really a heartfelt need to feel that we're all connected, compassion, harmony. They're highly sensitive both emotionally and physically to social breakdown and problems with the world. They take on personal responsibility to bring harmony and compassion to the world at the expense of their own health. So they can definitely burn themselves out trying to live up to these wonderful social environmental ideals that they often have. They dislike disorder, and they try and achieve balance and harmony in the world. They can get into self-denial and unvocalized expectation of others, so they can eventually feel burnt out, they can feel used, they can feel let down. They can have disappointments with the world, not living up to their wonderful high ideals, and become the opposite of what they really want. They can become cynical, antisocial, depressed, isolated, blaming. We see them like the human white blood cell. They sense disturbance in their environment, and they feel that their role and duty to restore any disharmony in the world. So in achieving this, they're prone to expanding at the expense of their own bodies, and therefore lack the feeling of connectedness. And they're usually chronically tired. They need more rest than the average person. So the body has different ways of slowing them down. Give them immune system problems, or fatigue problems, or thyroid problems. So this is the body's way of really saying, you're doing too much, you need to slow down and learn to proceed, or realize that less than your ideals is okay. It can appear just outside the ring of expression. So the ring of expression is just a little bit out from the pupil. You'll see a somewhat jaggedy, usually white line, just a little way out from the pupil, quite close into the pupil. Those of you that know the physical view of the iris will call this the autonomic nerve reef. Sometimes the ring of harmony can appear closer into the autonomic nerve reef, or ring of expression as it's known in Rayid. People with this, when they have the ring of harmony closer into the pupil, their sensitivity to this harmony usually is more to the people around them rather than more of a global vision of let's save the whales and the starving children in Africa or in the forest and all of those type of things. So it's more of a sensitivity to disharmony in people around them, and they want to mother and nurture and care for those around them at the expense. They can do that to the expense of themselves. So it can be difficult to have this pattern. So wanting to heal the world's problems, they can become overburdened, they can take on too much, which leads to exhaustion. And the typical scenario when they drag themselves into your clinic is, I'm a burnt out social worker type, I'm trying to save the world and I'm exhausted. So they need to step back and see the greater good that perhaps a couple of million environmentalists that maybe in a couple of million years' time from now, or the stress we're putting on ourselves about how the environment is, it may be a greater good or something that we can't see with what's occurring on the planet. Or even if a loved one of yours has their heart broken, there may be a greater good to something like that happening. So they want this environmental peace that is not yet at our level of social evolution. It hasn't manifested yet. So they're very sensitive to disharmony. I ask them to give up watching the news, because the overwhelming majority of the news is bad, and with their sensitivity they just end up, the affirmation coming from the heart is there's problems with the world, there's problems with the world, there's problems with the world. And if you're telling your body that, your immune system doesn't like that. So their extreme sensitivity to disharmony in the environment and people around them makes them like psychic emotional vacuum cleaners. They absorb all of this sense of disharmony around the world. This hurts their immune and lymphatic systems, and they can have a tendency to hold on to problems. They can suffer immune deficiencies, which help slow them down, help them learn to receive. They can have allergies, which are a sign of wanting to throw up and release this inner garbage, or that affirmation that there's problems with the world's effed, we've got to save it. They can resent feeling abandoned, unsupported, depressed, drained and emaciated. They can have hyperactivity of the sympathetic nervous system. So they're running on their adrenals trying to save the world, and they can have underactivity of the glandular system. So adrenals get burnt out, overstimulated. The thyroid shuts them down trying to calm the nervous system. There's a real link between, when we get further into some of the, which we won't have time to tonight, some of the meditation qualities, we see that the quality of deep inner peace, like a lake without a ripple, is one of that feminine receiving quality is one of the great qualities that feed the immune system. So that receiving peace is something that's highly beneficial for these times. Another picture of the ring of harmony type. Another picture of the ring of harmony type. The whitish tinge of yellow ring of harmony type. So initially, 2 therapies were proposed for this type. Stillness and singing. We can get them to sing in the shower, vibrating by singing or humming, helps stimulate the thymus gland and help regulate the immune system. I think in practice in this day and age, if you can get anyone to be more still, it's a primary therapy for everyone out there. And if you can get anyone to be more still, all of your diet and supplements and herbs and homeopathics and whatever you're prescribing will do greater if you can get someone to be more still. So this is especially important for our ring of harmony types. They're rushing around trying to solve the disharmony in the world and they get burnt out. So they require rest and rejuvenation. Ideally doing 20 minutes 3 times daily using alpha meditation. Getting to rest is good luck. So it's ideal for them to do, but hard to get them to do it. But oftentimes by getting people to do the opposite of what their default programming is or what their personality type is doing, the most healing places to them is to find their opposite, integrate it, and love it. Makes them more whole, and it's incredibly healing space for them. Things that are body stillness, so some of those sort of movement things like Qigong, Tai Chi, help create stillness in the body and can be great for these types. Even some of your grounding type foods can be beneficial for these types, your proteins, your root vegetables, that type of thing. Of course, all of your things that upset the immune system, stress and sugar and all of those things should be avoided, and perhaps the news should be avoided for these types. So now some of the main prescriptions for these types is to look at what we call the vibratory qualities of 5 girl and 5 boy. When we get into the Rayid course, we sort of expand on what these qualities mean. What we call 5 girl, which relates to father's mother's mother, as the feeling is a global compassion for all living things. And usually the affirmation I give these types is all is well, all is in harmony, all lies still in the bliss of nurture and love. So that feeling that the world is full of that, they feel at peace because the world is already full of this wonderful harmony and nurturing and caring, helps their own lymphatic and immune system feel connected. That there's a wonderful connection between all of ecology and all species, grand and small, nature, and all is lying still in that bliss. So it increases their ability to access that peace and stillness. That lump in your throat when you're touched by the beauty of nature, to feel that connection with nature. To see the perfection and beauty in all things. So, knowing and loving that quality is quite healing for them. So myself would say to them, how are you going to feel if a baby bird falls out of the nest and dies at your feet? Well, these type will be very affected by that. But perhaps they need to learn to step back and say, higher than their ideals, perhaps the baby brother and sister bird in the nest now has enough food to get through the spring and everything will be fine. So, sort of stepping back and seeing the perfection can really help for these types. They need a cleaner, macrobiotic diet. Rest is of primary importance. Of course, your lymphatic herbs, herbalists will know what they all are. We find things like chlorophyll and iron, folic acid, and getting into MTHFR, correct forms of folic acid and spirulina. These types we don't want to burden them with too many things to do. Lymphatic drainage can be a wonderful therapeutic thing, and they can lie still and receive something and perhaps do the visualization that you give them and stimulate some of those K26 points. You're familiar with those to help detoxify the lip. Again, turning off the news is great for these sensitive types. Also, I can tell them, they usually have causes like saving the whales and starving children in Africa and the trees, which is all wonderful, but I say you've got to give up being anti, because being anti deforestation and anti-vivisection and anti-Monsanto and holding these negative feelings makes them more unwell. So you have to give up being anti and be pro-peace, pro-organics, pro-harmony, pro-spiritual evolution, pro-greening Australia, pro. And one thing I ask them is, who do you have more compassion for? The lion or the poacher? So I often get these types to consider who they have more compassion for, because oftentimes they'll get into a feeling of poachers are the problem with the world, they're the problem, and it's can be quite negative for them to get into those negative feelings about people and putting them in those boxes. So I get these types to expand their compassion for the ignorant. This is a sign I have in my iris, and I know I wasn't great at having any compassion for the ignorant. I was a very ideal young man, and it's something I'm still working on. Thank you to the Rayid work. So that's a good look at those two iris signs in the Rayid model, and like to give you a sort of glimpse of the kind of things we look at. Looking at those sort of emotional, spiritual, family tree aspects that are revealed in the iris in the Rayid model. We're pretty much out of time. I do want to say that we do have some short courses coming up with Rayid at Endeavour College. So we taught in Melbourne already this year. This weekend I'm in Brisbane, teaching Saturday and Sunday, and we've got a 2-day and a 4-day course. So teaching up there this weekend, and then 2 weeks later I'm back up in Brisbane, and August I'm in Adelaide, and October I'm in Sydney. And we're looking at locking in some dates. Melbourne again in 2016, and got quite a few people interested in Perth over there for 2016. So I'm really excited about running the courses. I'm really passionate about sharing this quite profound, beautiful tool to add to your naturopathic or whatever modality you have. We've had kinesiologists, counsellors, and lots of different types of therapists find that they've used Rayid at a very deep level. Even massage therapists find that they're connecting with their patients and using some of the Rayid work to deepen the healing aspects of the massages. Let's open it up to some questions.
Thank you, Jason. And before we go any further, I just want to thank you so much. I mean, just looking at you do 2-day, 4-day courses, there's so much information, and just to try and make it a brief introduction, it's very hard. So you've done a great job, and there's been some great comments online. So Inka, thanks for the question. I always struggle with this when I look into patients' iris and I see, and sorry for the pronunciation, Luquani, or stress rings or any dark spots. I don't know if this is something they were born with or they developed over time.
Okay, so the rounded openings, if you've only done a physical view of the iris, I found that quite difficult to look at someone's iris and report back toxicity or weakness, and it's might be much more profoundly deeper than that. The lacuna and the rings of freedom we find are there from birth. The brown dots are usually not there at birth, and are usually fully developed by the age of 7. Sometimes be there by 12. Come as late as 12 years of age, and there are extremely rare cases of a brown dot, which we call a jewel in the Rayid method, appearing later in life or disappearing later in life. So rare that we virtually say it doesn't happen and the iris doesn't change, contrary to some earlier teachings of the physical view of the iris, I believe. most of the people teaching the physical view of the iris are moving towards a position where those sort of round dots and rounded openings and rings, the iris don't essentially change. I've known people that have done, hundreds of colonic irrigations and all kinds of extreme things to get rid of their brown dots. They're really wonderful gifts to have in the iris.
But if the rings are formed at birth, then how can they also show generation issues? Surely they happen after people are born.
Our grandparents are alive in our genes, and having that sign, there is less of that sign that we see. So those unresolved feelings from the Rayid perspective that create the sign in the family tree, they're there at the moment of conception. Yeah, they're essentially there for the moment of conception. Essentially, the jewels may be there at the moment of conception, but they just don't arrive physically in the iris until later. So, yeah, it's one of those, I guess it's profound mystery, really.
What if you've both a ring of harmony and a ring of freedom?
Yes. This is quite possible. So we usually find people are going in more of a yin or yang direction in their personality and even their body type. So immediately when someone's walking in the door for a consultation, touch their hand. If it's warm or damp, then they might be going in a yang direction. And they're more likely to be full of issues from the father's side of the family. And I would be looking at the ring of harmony then, because it originates in the father's side of the family. If someone's got cool hands, they're more likely to be going in a yin direction with their personality and disease patterns. Those sort of glands and organs are switching on more issues from the mother's side of the family. And then I would be, so they could essentially heal the ring of harmony first, and then look at healing the ring of freedom second. That's the way I patient. Most people can have true signs in their iris, and they'll find truth in both of those signs, even though they're in some ways opposite.
How do you interpret a person with a ring of harmony who isn't at all like you described in terms of wanting to heal the world's problems? Are they in a denial, or have they learned to disregard this part of themselves? Or can they be a physical sign expression only?
I would check that their sensitivity to this harmony doesn't extend to just people around them. If they're not, environmental idealists. I haven't really. I guess occasionally it's pretty rare that I'm shocked that someone's not who they appear to be in their iris. Or that it may be that other signs are stronger in their iris, so they may have a ring of freedom sign in their iris that's kind of overpowering the harmony sign. They've got two signs in their iris. It's really about looking at and it is quite an art form that can only really be learned through the cauldron of consultation. Yeah, it would be great to see the iris type and the birth order, whether they're heading in a yin or yang direction, but it is. So there's a lot that I take in, and it's just not saying, is there a ring of freedom, is there a ring of harmony, are they exactly like this? There are certain forces that may make them not appear like this. So if there are forces that are pushing them in a more yin direction, for example, they've got a lot of pain with their father, they're into depression, and they're not going to be switching on their ring of harmony up at that time of their life. So they might, have depression, be cold, emaciated, more mysterious, detached, and like a harmony type.
The next one I've got is the dark rings on the outside of the eye. What do they mean?
How long do we have? They call it the ring of purpose in Rayid terms. They relate very quickly. They relate to pineal gland health and the health of skin. Pineal and skin are related through the melatonin's ability as a potent antioxidant. Emotionally, they relate to the pineal glands and our access to silence, oneness, and not creating any sort of attitudes or beliefs of separation. My God's better than your God, my race is better than your race. So, on the one pole there's oneness is quite healing. Separation, those belief systems of separation, quite damaging. You've got that sign. That sign, there can be procrastination and a searching for their purpose. We call it inner purpose. That's it in a very short nutshell.
Well, from myself, I want to thank Jason so much for passing your wisdom tonight. There's so much interest that's been generated, and if I have missed your question or haven't responded to something you've written, I do apologise, because we've still got over 100 people online at the moment. So I mean, that's really great to see. And I hope if this is something you're interested in, you can keep in contact with Jason at Endeavour College. Just like to thank everyone for attending tonight, and look forward to seeing you at the next few webinar sessions that we host.